What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. It is episode 384 for your Saturday, July 24th, 2021. We have so much to get into today, man. And it seems to be nothing but Daniel Bryan and CM Punk news. As you guys probably see the smile on my face, there were reports today, as of early this morning, CM Punk is signed to AEW. And we're going to go over exactly where this news came from. We're going to go over exactly what has happened so far between AEW, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk. It's just so much to really just take in. I don't even know what to say on top of what I've already stated to you guys. You know, I said it best on social media, man. It is a time that we're all living through right now in the current generation of professional wrestling. This is history in the making. You, me, and everybody else that's a part of everything that's going on right now, you are living in the middle of something that we did not think would ever happen at the start of AEW. This is history in the making. We're living through it, and the winds of change are blowing harder and stronger than they've ever blown before. That's the best way for me to put it. If you don't feel it, if you don't see it, if you're not on board with it, I don't know what to tell you, man. I really don't. We've been telling you this. I've been telling you this for the last 6-7 years now. You guys know how I feel about the current WWE product, how we all yearned and desperately seeked an alternative. We have it. We have it. And it's at its strongest right now. And if you're not on board with that, I don't know what to tell you, man. We got a lot to go over with CM Punk, Daniel Bryan. I got news coming out of Money in the Bank, which, believe it or not, happened a week ago. It happened a week ago on Sunday. So we're going to go over that as well. I got news coming out of Money in the Bank, what WWE thinks of Nikki trash, Toni Storm debuting on SmackDown, WWE possibly bringing back Braun Strowman. I got news on that, so we're going to go over that today as well. Big plans for SummerSlam, or at least in the next couple of weeks, for WWE on the road to SummerSlam. We talked about this a little bit on Thursday when I did an off-the-script extra. We got WWE planning a King of the Ring tournament in 2021. I might have been a little hard on it at first, but I got some additional information right now that may or may not anger you guys. And something that I forgot to mention about WWE now planning a Queen of the Ring instead of a King of the Ring. Why are they doing a Queen of the Ring? Is there another WWE agenda going on inside the company? Is there another all-women's empowering pay-per-view happening? I'm sure there is. Triple H says that it was not the right time to do another all-women's pay-per-view. But really, we have a Queen of the Ring tournament happening. So I guess Triple H once again lied right to our faces. Where's Bray Wyatt? I got news on that. And then WWE has conveniently erased Charlotte Flair's NXT title runs, and now her reign as multi-time champion does not include any of the NXT title reigns, especially the one that happened last year when she defeated and buried Rhea Ripley, won the Royal Rumble, and then went on to WrestleMania and buried Rhea Ripley. None of that happened, ladies and gentlemen, according to WWE. So we got news on all that. It's going to be a big show, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on episode 384 of the podcast. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That's on Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button down below. A lot of you have this week, which I'm very appreciative of. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications. Make sure you guys go and check out all the other videos that you might have missed on the channel. They're on the homepage as I speak. If you guys missed anything during the week, Monday Night Raw, NXT on Tuesday was a big show because we talked about Karrion Kross. I have additional information on him as well today. AEW Dynamite completely blew up with the signing of Daniel Bryan to AEW. And then Friday, SmackDown, I was live for that post-show. John Cena and Roman Reigns officially kicked off on Friday. Like I said, Toni Storm debuting on Friday night, amongst other things. If you missed that live stream, everything you need is on the homepage of the channel right now. Go and check that stuff out. Go and get your t-shirts, man. Bonfire.com is the exclusive home of Off the Script and JD. Go and get your summer scam t-shirts right now, exclusively on Bonfire only. Make sure you guys go and check out the JD is Negan design as well. That is still there. Everything you need as far as the up-to-date current merchandise for the podcast is on Bonfire. That is bonfire.com. Go and check that out. Link is down below in the description. If you guys want to support the podcast through the Patreon page as well, we still have the engraved baseball bat dugout mugs. They're available. Still on the Patreon page. We got the Are We Live t-shirts. They're still available on Patreon as well. So make sure you guys go and check that out. For annual members, sign up. That is patreon.com/JD from NY206. And today's show is sponsored by, once again, my great friends over at Sheath. So make sure you guys go and get yourself some comfortable, especially in the summertime, man, some comfortable Sheath underwear. That is sheathunderwear.com/script. Or if you guys want to just go to the website, sheathunderwear.com, you could actually enter the promo code SCRIPT. Either way, you're going to save 20% off your entire purchase. So make sure you guys go and do that for me. And they are a great friend and a great sponsor of Off the Script. Once again this weekend, that is sheathunderwear.com/scripts. I'll leave you guys a link in the comment section pinned and in the description of this very video. Make sure you guys go and check them out as well. Let's ease into all this news I got, guys. I'm going to start easy. I'm going to give you a little appetizer before we get into the major main course. WWE stars officially a babyface. Vince McMahon is a fan of Toni Storm and Nikki Trash. And more news and notes coming out of Money in the Bank. PW Insiders reporting that Rhea Ripley is now officially considered a babyface. That's a great clarification there, Mr. PW Insider Mike Johnson. It's great to know, because I didn't have a fucking clue as to what Rhea Ripley was going into the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Coming out of the last pay-per-view that we saw, Rhea Ripley was absolutely a heel because she cheated to win against said heel in Charlotte Flair and got intentionally disqualified for some of the most illogical reasons that you could possibly see in a pro wrestling match. But now she's a babyface, according to PW Insider and Mike Johnson. That was obvious by the way she's been booked in recent weeks, but is now internally considered a babyface. Great. As noted before, Toni Storm is making her main roster debut as of this Friday's on SmackDown. She's going to be a babyface on SmackDown. WrestlingNews.co was told that last week Vince McMahon feels she can be one of the biggest stars in the women's division. So finally, Vince McMahon and many fans agree on something. How long before Toni Storm is buried on SmackDown? Toni Storm has a lot of matches that I can't wait to see. Bayley, Sasha, Bianca. It doesn't really matter who's on SmackDown. Toni Storm is a fantastic professional wrestler. It would be very criminal and very careless for WWE to fuck her up. There's no way that anybody could look at her and the gimmick that she has and the persona that she has and fuck it up. I think everything considering what we've seen of her so far, she's somebody that can really get that female demographic to get excited about the product. She's definitely someone that could be aimed at the younger audience as well, like a Sasha and like a Bayley when they were first introduced to the product 5 or 6 years ago. I think Toni Storm's going to have a great career on the main roster, and she's so young, which is definitely one of the positives going into this. She's barely 23 years old, and she's already on the main roster and already being considered by Vince McMahon to be a face of the division, a big star of the division. I think we all knew this coming out of her leaving NXT UK. It's almost like she went to NXT, didn't do anything. We all looked at her as a potential leader of that brand. She never won the world championship down there in NXT. She fought for it a couple times, but that's about it. She didn't really do much of anything else, floating in a bunch of nothing matches, mid-card matches, putting others over. It's at that point where I think all of us collectively as a fan base was like, I think Toni Storm deserves better. I think she needs to go to the main roster and really do something of substance. And that's exactly what they're doing. So hopefully, I'm recording this before SmackDown, hopefully WWE knows what they're doing as far as Toni Storm's debut on SmackDown. Keith Lee, PW Insider states that his absence was not a creative decision, and he was cleared from whatever was keeping him off of television. Now, I'm not sure I really believe that, but he's back on television, and WWE showed us on Monday exactly what they think and how much value that they see in Keith Lee. They didn't really do much of anything different on top of what we've already seen. He went into Monday Night Raw, came back in an unadvertised appearance in his quote-unquote home state of Texas, and he was almost demolished in 6 minutes by Bobby Lashley, who, by the way, folks, I said this on Monday, was never going to be put in a situation to look weak or lose coming out of Money in the Bank, and what he did against Kofi Kingston. WWE, once again, royally, this is 2 times now. They fucked up his debut, and they fucked up his return. Royally fucking buried Keith Lee on Monday. If you don't look at that as a burial, you are trying to figure something out that doesn't need to be figured out. It's right in front of your face. Keith Lee was buried. I hate throwing that word around, but that's exactly what happened on Monday night. Nikki Cross. Apparently, she's beloved by everybody in the locker room. She gets praise for the hard work she puts in to improve in the ring. She is getting praise up and down the management team for coming up with her new gimmick. The gimmick which she came up with, by the way, is being met with a lot of praise, and Vince McMahon is said to be happy with it and proud of her for thinking outside the box. There was a report that Vince McMahon was looking for more characters on WWE TV. This fits perfectly into his line of thinking with characters. Nikki Cross is a character. She's no longer a professional wrestler. She's a cosplay professional wrestler now. She's a character. She's a comic book hero. She's a superhero, almost a superhero, or a superhero in training, whatever the fuck they're going with. But this is not the Nikki Cross I remember. This is not a matured Nikki Cross. This is something that I feel is easing her into the main roster at the most simplest of terms. It's the best way for me to put it. This is for the idiots to digest and get behind. I don't think this is a natural progression of where Nikki Cross was. There was nothing wrong with the old Nikki Cross. Now she's a fucking cartoon character. I don't know if I'm watching WWE or Nickelodeon Kids at this point. But at that point, when I say that, I can't even fucking tell the difference anyway. Nikki Cross is an embarrassment. That women's title is nothing more than a 24/7 title now with her holding it. And what they did to Charlotte Flair only proves one thing as far as the Charlotte Flair agenda is concerned. They're still going hard with that one as well. This is not good. This is not entertaining. This is not professional wrestling. WWE needs to be in a day and age where their product is a little bit more serious. I'm not saying everything has to be serious. I'm not saying that there isn't room for comedy or funny skits or just let loose, and not really being serious all the time. But WWE is in a day and age and in a time span right now where they need to be serious. That's why people really aren't watching their product. Meanwhile, AEW is serious most of the time with a little dash of comedy here and there, a little skit here and there, a little one-liner here and there. WWE, I don't even know what they resemble anymore. And that's the fucking problem. That's the problem. But everybody loves Nikki Cross. And I still stick to my guns that she came up with many gimmicks and Vince McMahon picked that one. Bruce Pritchard picked that one. How many gimmicks did she pitch that they both turned down. You guys think that this was the only gimmick that she pitched? I don't think so. I find that very difficult to believe. But apparently Vince McMahon loves the gimmick and feels that she's opened up a world of opportunities to sell more merchandise and for her to do more community outreach with kids. She took the initiative and she got rewarded by being given the Money in the Bank briefcase. So there you go. I'm not an idiot. I said this a couple weeks on Monday Night Raw. I said this again on my last Monday Night Raw post show. Nikki Cross is going to sell merchandise. They're going to market it. They're going to market her to kids. This is a good business move. So yeah, Vince might have picked this gimmick out of a sea of gimmicks that she pitched. Maybe they didn't really think much of it or much of her when she presented it to them. They probably looked at it. Yeah, well, whatever. You're an embarrassment anyway. Go on TV and embarrass yourself some more. And she got it over. So praise to the people in the community that said Nikki Cross would get it over. They were right. But I still don't think it fits the current mold of WWE television. It is so far beyond what WWE needs to be doing right now. And that's the problem. That's why people aren't watching their shows, because they look at it like everything comes off like Nikki Cross. WWE has big things planned for the next weeks, or the coming weeks, on the road to SummerSlam. There was a lot of buzz coming out of Money in the Bank, which was a fantastic pay-per-view by WWE. And WWE tried to keep that momentum going into Monday Night Raw as John Cena kicked off the show. And as we all saw on Monday night, it was one of the worst Monday Night Raws of all time, based on the creative booking and the recklessness of said creative. There's also a big name scheduled to take place or scheduled to show up at SummerSlam against Bobby Lashley. He is a big name, but he's not a name that I really give a shit about, or the majority of the fans give a shit about, and that is Bill Goldberg. WrestleVotes noted on Twitter that WWE feels like they can keep some of the same energy and momentum all the way through to SummerSlam. That's going to be a little bit more difficult after Monday Night Raw on Monday. If that happens, then fans can expect a lot of big things to happen on Raw and SmackDown, and the ratings should, in theory, start to increase. WrestlingNews.co once again reported that Vince McMahon was very well aware of the product getting stale during the Thunderdome era, and a lot of big ideas were being saved for the live crowds. Andrew Zarian noted on Twitter that Monday Night Raw was going to be stacked before they went live on the air Monday. If plans don't change, it sounds like fans will enjoy the show. That's what he said on Monday. Did fans enjoy the show? No, they did not. So WWE may have some momentum going through SummerSlam with John Cena and Roman Reigns, but outside that, WWE has no fucking momentum at all. And in fact, I don't think I'm lying when I tell you guys, all of WWE's momentum has been swallowed up by Tony Khan and All Elite Wrestling. WWE has no momentum going into SummerSlam except for Roman Reigns and John Cena. Everything else on that show is a fucking afterthought, especially with the announcement of Bobby Lashley and Bill Goldberg. AEW has swallowed that up, and Tony Khan is smiling all the way to the bank with him signing CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. WWE is planning a Queen of the Ring tournament for 2021. Now, I reported this initially for the first time on Thursday when I did an off-the-script extra. I talked about it, and I was a little too harsh on it. But WWE always has an agenda behind their creative decisions. I asked simply on Thursday when I did the extra, why does WWE need a Queen of the Ring tournament? Where's the King of the Ring tournament that by all accounts should be a staple in WWE? Should be a yearly thing, no question, no matter what, in WWE. Yet we're getting a Queen of the Ring for the first time this year. Why not next year? Why not next year? How is this tournament going to pan out? How is this tournament going to reveal itself? I have questions about this, but why is it happening? Now, WWE's women's evolution, I don't know if it's a thing anymore based on what WWE has done to pretty much kill the women's divisions on Raw and SmackDown. Seems like the only division that is flourishing right now, and they've even looked a little weak as of this past week. Really isn't much going on down there either, because Vince wants to pull from NXT. NXT's women's division has been a staple. It's been their bread and butter for many, many, many months on Tuesday night. The company is now planning a Queen of the Ring tournament, and this is something that fans have wondered about for a long time. And it's finally happening according to a report from Wrestling Inc. WWE is planning something that will make some fans very happy. The current plan calls for a Queen of the Ring tournament to go down later in 2021. They tweeted out this big news, did Wrestling Inc., with more news to follow. Wrestling Inc. has learned that there will be a Queen of the Ring tournament. What's interesting about this tournament, and this is what I forgot to mention on my Thursday off the script extra, and I put into my notes today. What's real interesting about this is that WWE hasn't put any emphasis on a King of the Ring tournament, period. WWE, the last time they had a King of the Ring tournament, I believe, was 3 years ago, with Baron Corbin winning the tournament and maintaining that gimmick on WWE television for the duration since that tournament ended. Has WWE ever given you a hint that they were going to do another King of the Ring tournament? Yet, I've been one of the very few in the community, one of the only content creators to really praise how a King of the Ring tournament, especially that one, I thought that one was great, how a King of the Ring tournament would get somebody or many talents over as a result of it being an ongoing thing on Monday and Friday night. If WWE wants to do the 8 and 8 on Raw and SmackDown and then have the Raw versus SmackDown final at a pay-per-view, so be it. You got 8 guys on SmackDown, you got 8 guys on Raw, not really doing much of anything. So why not get everybody that's not doing much of anything involved in the King of the Ring tournament, and they get over through wins, consistency, and build some momentum for themselves. This should be a yearly thing. Now, as of a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks ago to be exact, I praised how WWE was thinking outside the box with a point system or a score system or coming up with a World Cup wrestling tournament to really take the reins on television and really give the product some much needed watchability, some consistency, a reason for you to tune in on Monday and Friday night. And a World Cup tournament is good in theory, but WWE has something like that in their back pocket. It's called King of the Ring. All you have to do is alter the format. If you want a point system, if you want things based on wins and losses and points and signature moves and finishing moves, you have something that you could do called King of the Ring. Block A, Block B, just take a page out of New Japan Pro Wrestling and the G1 Climax. I personally think that WWE doing something like that on their television show would be fucking great. It would give a much needed boost to Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, and it would have fans go out of their way to watch weekly. That's the big selling point. Plus, you build that tournament up. Whoever wins that tournament gets a future WWE or Universal Championship match, depending on what brand they are coming from. It is a very simple concept, ladies and gentlemen. Now, what's interesting about this, like I said, WWE hasn't really focused on doing a King of the Ring at all. There was teases about it this year with Baron Corbin having his crown stolen. We all thought that this was going to lead to WWE doing a King of the Ring tournament once again in hopes that he may get his crown back. But WWE hasn't focused much on a men's King of the Ring, and it's not regularly featured, like I said. It's never quite known when WWE is going to bring it back or not. King of the Ring has previously been one of WWE's signature events, with the winner going on to do some pretty big things. And it's easy to do that when you have it happen between WrestleMania and SummerSlam. But NWA recently announced that an all-women's pay-per-view will be happening on their brand called Empower. It will take place August 28th at Chase Park Plaza in St. Louis, Missouri. During a media call in June, Triple H was asked about an all-women's event and seemed to be indifferent towards the idea. He seemed to brush off the idea, saying that it was a possibility, but right now, it's not the must-have of the moment, end quote. So I guess now is the must-have of the moment because NWA is doing an all-women's pay-per-view with NWA ladies, AEW ladies, and Impact ladies. That's great. So now Triple H wants to get in on that and show everybody how it's done. Or WWE, I should say. I can't even say Triple H is going to be a part of this. He may have some say in it. If he does, then I would hope NXT gets involved, because you ain't having a fucking Queen of the Ring tournament. I'm sorry. You ain't having a Queen of the Ring tournament with just main roster women. I'll tell you that right now. That is going to be the most bland and boring projection of women's wrestling that you could possibly go through for WWE. Now, I read that this may be on Peacock and that this may be a WWE Network exclusive, which got me thinking. This is pretty much a Mae Young Classic for the ladies all over again without actually calling it or naming it a Mae Young Classic. So that's what they're doing. I don't know how many women are going to be in this thing. I don't know when it's going to be. I don't know how the format's going to be. I don't know. All we know is that WWE is doing a Queen of the Ring tournament per Wrestling Inc. And the reason why they're doing it, not because they want to push women's wrestling, because we've seen how they've treated women's wrestling on the main roster. The only reason why they're doing it is because Mickie James was fired, and now she's doing something with NWA, and she's the executive producer of this Empower pay-per-view. So WWE just, again, like everybody always says, doesn't play well with others. Or they can't let anybody have their moment in the sun. WWE's got to come in and fucking be a buzzkill for literally every promotion and every performer in the industry. Why do you need a Queen of the Ring tournament? Why? What is it going to do for anybody? Unless you're going to include NXT in this, which by all accounts, Vince McMahon has pretty much disowned NXT at this point. If you don't include NXT at this point, what is the fucking point of a Queen of the Ring tournament? I could think of a couple of ways to make this important. Number one, the winner of this tournament gets a championship match on their brand, whether it's an NXT winner, a Raw winner, or a SmackDown winner. If it's an NXT winner, you give them the opportunity, and this would be great. It really would. Give them the opportunity to get an NXT championship women's match. Or if they don't want that, give them the opportunity to win the tournament and have the choice. All right, you won the tournament. Now you get a choice to go to Raw or SmackDown. Give them the opportunity to do so. Do they want to go to Raw? Do you want to go to SmackDown? Or do you want to get a championship match against whoever the champion is on NXT? Give them the opportunity to do so. Give people watching the differences between NXT, SmackDown, and Raw. Treat it as a third brand, but I'm talking out my ass. We all know that that won't be the case. This needs to include NXT. I don't know how many women are going to be in it. Is it going to be 8? Like the traditional tournament, 16? Like we saw a couple years ago with Baron Corbin winning it? Is it going to be 32 like the Mae Young Classic? We don't know. Is it going to include people from WWE, Raw, SmackDown, NXT? Is it also going to include people from outside of the company that they're potentially thinking about signing, like the Mae Young Classic, and how that presentation was? WWE has a lot of leeway here. If they're doing it on the network and they're doing it on Peacock, one has to believe that Triple H may be in charge of most of it. And WWE main roster may not have a lot of say in it. Vince always has the final say, but it might not be something that Vince McMahon looks at as a big priority, and it may get handed off to somebody in NXT or Triple H himself. So I might have shit on this a little too soon without asking all of the appropriate questions. The only thing I was concerned about is, why aren't you doing this for the men on a yearly basis? That's what I want to know. Because it damn well will be a good thing for your main roster. Yearly. They need to start doing that. The King of the Ring tournament is a perfect bridge between WrestleMania and SummerSlam. Why it ever went away? I don't know. All I ever hear is Vince McMahon hates tournaments. He hates tournaments just like he hates everything else that makes fucking sense. I'm not surprised. Bray Wyatt. Where has he been and why has he been off television since WrestleMania? PW Insider's reporting this week that Wyatt is not out because of a creative issue. So this is not the case of creative not having anything for him or Vince McMahon wanting him to just wait around until fans came back. Ringside News is reporting that Wyatt has been out of action because of a medical issue. There are no other details available, but he could be on his way back soon. He's advertised for a live event on August 9th. If he's back by that date, then it means that there may be enough time to get him on the SummerSlam card. Aside from a rare tweet where he said he misses fans, Wyatt has not said much in his absence from WWE. I think it's too soon to bring Bray Wyatt back, or as of August 9th, it's not too soon, it's too late actually to bring him back at that time for SummerSlam. And number two, the medical issue that Ringside News says, not being creative, it's a medical issue, goes to pretty much clarify what the first early reports were about Bray Wyatt and the fact that he was out because of mental health issues, because he was battling a little bout of depression. So that may actually be legit if Ringside News is claiming that it's not creative, but he's out because of a medical issue. So I don't know what's going on there, but, I can joke about him being depressed. I could. It's not that difficult to do so. He was on TV and he had his entire gimmick and his persona stolen by WWE and then gifted to Alexa Bliss. She even used his finishing move on television. Now, the fact that I seen Alexa Bliss use the Sister Abigail at Money in the Bank, it makes me wonder if when Bray Wyatt comes back that there will be a continuation of this Bray Wyatt Alexa Bliss storyline, maybe bringing her back to normal. She can't stay this way for the duration of her career. It's just awful. And I don't see her as that type of character. I don't see that Alexa Bliss character being supernatural all of her career. So maybe Bray Wyatt does fit into that when he comes back. Maybe they're just waiting for him to come back to really kind of close the chapter on this Alexa Bliss fucking magic act that we see every single week. All the hypnosis and the fireballs and all that shit. But I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you, man. I know Bray Wyatt is a creative guy. I know Bray Wyatt has tried to reinvent the wheel for himself a couple of times now. I've said it time and time and time again. My favorite Bray Wyatt is the Eater of Worlds Bray Wyatt. I think that is a fantastic version of Bray Wyatt. My favorite of them all. But I don't think WWE appreciates this guy's creativity and his talents. I never thought WWE looked at him as a major guy, a WWE champion type caliber performer. And I know he has his fan base, and I know he has his legions of shills out there and fucking stans. But realistically, does Bray Wyatt add anything to WWE television? Has WWE television, I want you guys to ask yourself this question, has Bray Wyatt being off TV made the shows worse? No. If he was there, would he make the shows better? The answer is no. Bray Wyatt didn't do much of anything as far as a character goes on Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown at all. He barely wrestled on those shows. He was only in a Firefly Funhouse skit. He didn't really do much of anything. So what is the big deal about him being off the show? Why do we need to rush him back to television? And when he comes back to television, what is the best usage of Bray Wyatt? Do you have an answer for that? Outside of a feud with Jeff Hardy and what they've discussed in the past about what they want to do as far as their creativity and letting their creativity out of the bag onto WWE television, Willow and Bray Wyatt, the Firefly Funhouse, and everything that goes along with those two, characters. Is there anything on WWE television that you want Bray Wyatt to be doing? What is left for him to do? Win the WWE Championship? Beat Drew McIntyre? Beat a Bobby Lashley? Beat a Big E? What is there for him to do? He's certainly not beating Roman. So where do you put him? Bray Wyatt may be shit out of luck. Bray Wyatt's character may be well past its expiration date when it comes back to the roster. I think as the product continues to move on, and I don't mean this in a snide, JD hates everything type way. I'm just speaking the truth with you guys. As the product moves on, and now we have fans back in attendance, I honestly think They're leaving Bray Wyatt behind them. What does he do? How does he make an impact? You tried putting the championship on him. It didn't work. Twice. It didn't work. He doesn't need a championship. He's that supernatural character that you can only do so much with. Meanwhile, like I said, the Eater of Worlds, Bray Wyatt, you could do a lot more with that. That character was a lot more versatile. It's going to be a very difficult situation for him to come back to television and really feel important. I don't see what the big deal is. Him not being on the show, him being on the show is not a difference maker at all. You guys have to understand that. Braun Strowman, speaking of not being a difference maker with or without him, Braun Strowman is never again going to be a difference maker for WWE, ever. Braun Strowman was released from his WWE contract, and many fans were shocked when he was let go. He received a lot of attention from WWE, but releasing the Monster Among Men freed up a reported $1.2 million per year off of the company's bottom line. Strowman apparently still has merchandise up on WWE Shop. Some fans got a bit excited. Some fans, unintelligent fans, I should say, got excited when an image started to circulate which appeared to show WWE had put out new Braun Strowman merchandise. Some saw this as a sign he is returning. WWE has taken the new off of these items on Shop. It was obviously placed there in error, which is now a rumor killer for Braun Strowman returning to the company. Braun Strowman's merchandise is actually on sale for the most part. For some reason, the WrestleMania 37 t-shirt for Strowman versus Shane McMahon is still listed at $28. Nobody is buying that t-shirt. If you did, you just threw $28 down the fucking toilet. There was no outward word or movement to bring Braun Strowman back to the WWE. He was released and is now waiting out his non-compete clause. He is also reportedly charging upwards towards $20,000 plus a ton of extra perks to do appearances. Following his WWE release, Braun Strowman received a lot of praise from Mark Henry. After all, it was Mark Henry who brought Strowman into the WWE. Odds are Henry is trying to get in Tony Khan's ear about opening up his checkbook to bring him in to AEW. Now, I woke up this morning on Friday with all the CM Punk and Daniel Bryan news going to AEW, and this little tidbit was staring me in the face as soon as I opened Twitter. WWE has had a change of heart on Braun Strowman. They released him, and now they could be bringing him back to the company. Dave Meltzer reported in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter that WWE is interested in bringing Strowman back to work for the company, especially, he cites, after recent AEW signings, which are obviously Malachi Black, CM Punk, Braun Strowman, and as of late, Thunder Rosa. The former Universal Champion was released by the company in June due to budget cuts with a price tag of $1.2 million. Strowman will be a free agent for other promotions to actively talk to on August 31st. That is a Tuesday. That is when his 90-day non-compete clause expires. It should be noted that Mark Henry has made it known that he would like to see Braun Strowman join All Elite Wrestling, and there has been talk of interest from both sides regarding the possibility. This would be a colossal failure if Tony Khan went out and brought in Braun Strowman. AEW does not need Braun Strowman. See, a lot of the geeks, a lot of the UK shills, a lot of the fucking guys that like to spew positivity without any retort or any negativity towards the WWE at all. They were like, Braun Strowman coming back is a great idea, says the UK geeks who don't know any better. Yes, I'm sorry that you may be putting your next interview in jeopardy. I'm sorry you may be looking at a situation that you might make WWE public relations unhappy. But you cannot be fucking serious about Braun Strowman being back in the WWE. or in AEW. Anywhere. If he goes to AEW, Tony Khan is taking several steps backwards after moving fucking several miles forward with what he's done lately. Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to bring in somebody that is by definition someone who bleeds WWE? All you hear online from the fucking geeks is, oh, look, AEW's got to sign another WWE ex-employee to bring into the company to really make their name in the industry. You're getting that now with Punk and Bryan, which, I mean, is a fucking idiotic argument. I mean, you got to be a mental fucking retard to think that if Tony Khan's not going to go out there and sign CM Punk or Daniel Bryan, or at least give them the option to fucking, ask, what do you want? And have them give him the option. What do you want? What can I do for you? How can I make you happy? What is it going to take to sign you? You are not of a right mind if you're going to let CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, even Malachi Black or Andrade, Tony Khan brought into the company. You would be absolutely fucking mental to leave these people out on the free agent market. Why would you do that? That goes to show you that half of the community, they are as dumb as a fucking eggplant. It is ridiculous how stupid people are. Now, Braun Strowman, what good would Braun Strowman be to AEW? Have you guys asked yourself that question? The guy is an absolute fucking mockery to professional wrestling, number one. He can't wrestle. They ran the gambit and usage of Braun Strowman so many times over that by the time they tried to really push him as a top guy, he was dead. The guy was dead. He had no value left in him. They absolutely taxed themselves to death with Braun Strowman. There's only so much that this one-trick pony can do. Braun Strowman's like the fucking magician who does the same fucking magic acts over and over and over again every single show. By the time you get to where he was, nobody is interested in your brand of magic anymore. How many times can we see this guy roll somebody off a loading dock? How many times can we see this guy overturn an ambulance? How many times can we see this guy destroy something on Monday Night Raw? The cool factor of Braun Strowman has been dead for years. WWE aided in that death when they didn't have him go over Brock Lesnar. I don't know what else I need to tell you. Tony Khan signing Braun Strowman is prototypical bringing in somebody from WWE to aid your company. That is what you want to stay away from. Braun Strowman has been given opportunities by Vince McMahon, and the company failed him for whatever reason. Maybe they didn't believe in him. Maybe they saw the same thing that I saw in him. Maybe they just realized that this guy isn't cut to be the top guy, and maybe he has some backstage issues that we don't know of. But bringing him in is exactly feeding into everybody on social media, saying that AEW does nothing but sign ex-WWE employees. Andrade, in my eyes, is not an ex-WWE employee. Malachi Black is not an ex-WWE employee. I don't consider those guys. Rusev, Miro, I don't consider him an ex-WWE employee. What did they have these guys doing? If they went on to have Hall of Fame careers, that's a different story. These guys were never given an opportunity in WWE to do anything, to show the world what they can do, to show the world what they're made of. Braun Strowman has. And like I said, it's been taxed. I'm sorry. Braun Strowman's better off not even going back to be a professional wrestler, or better yet, MLW's looking for people. Ring of Honor's got a nice little budget. Go over there, maybe you'll find some work over there. Impact is always looking for new guys. You know, Big Cass is not going to be there forever. He's only signed through Bound for Glory in October. Maybe Impact needs a new big monster on their show. Stay away from AEW. And shame on Mark Henry for bringing in, or at least trying to get in Tony Khan's ear to bring Braun Strowman in. If Mark Henry was for the brand, then he would not mention Braun Strowman's name at all in front of Tony Khan. That is the absolute worst decision you could possibly make. And I'm hoping that with all of Tony Khan and his spending habits as of late, I think we're taxed as far as Tony Khan opening up his checkbook. He's got what he needs. There's really nobody else outside of a Ruby Riott to come on in. Maybe a Tessa Blanchard. That's about it. Now you got to start working on your women's division. You got everybody you need. You got all the pieces in place for your main show. You got 2 hours of Dynamite and 1 hour of Rampage. What more do you need after CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Andrade, and Malachi Black? Not really much to do. If Samoa Joe was out there, I'd be saying, let's go get Samoa Joe. Buddy Murphy's out there. I'd love him to come to AEW, but I've been actively saying he could kill it in Impact. AEW doesn't need Buddy Murphy. They don't need Braun Strowman. Let's get with the program. Braun Strowman fucking blows. He sucks. If you want him to go to AEW, you're not for the brand. You don't have the best interests of AEW at heart. They got everything they need right now. They don't need fucking Braun Strowman. But also I said I would not be surprised if WWE released Braun Strowman and then hired him back at a much cheaper rate because they regretted signing him to a $1.2 million contract to begin with. They only gave him $1.2 million because they didn't want him to explore other options while AEW was just getting started. So they signed everybody to money that they knew these guys weren't worth, only to keep them away from AEW, which goes to what I tell you all the time, goes back to what I tell you, it's all a part of the AEW effect. Nobody listens to me. This is a terrible idea. Braun Strowman needs to stay as far away from AEW as humanly possible. What a terrible creative move that would be for AEW and Tony Khan. What is a incredible week for AEW. You're not going to hear from Tony Khan's mouth, though. He's keeping this shit fucking Fort Knox locked. Done. Nobody's hearing a fucking word from Tony Khan. Not like what we seen with Christian Cage at all. He fucked that up royally. He knows better. He hasn't said much of anything on social media. Guy's been quiet. And you're not going to hear him about Daniel Bryan, and you're not going to hear him about CM Punk. Daniel Bryan signed. Daniel Bryan is signed. I got a text from someone that I know pretty well, who knows people in AEW, who knows their medical staff. You know what the text said that I got? Daniel Bryan signed. Do you want to know how? Because I know the medical staff over there, and they gave him his physical. They told me that he's 100% signed. And then my source said, you can run with that if you want. Daniel Bryan is in. Daniel Bryan more than likely will be showing up in New York City at Arthur Ashe Stadium. When you hear the final countdown going off, that place is not going to be a stadium anymore. It's going to be fucking rubble. You're going to have to be crawling out of Arthur Ashe Stadium on September 22nd. With Daniel Bryan going to AEW, the latest news as of today is WWE told developers to not include Daniel Bryan in 2022. WWE 2K 2022. Daniel Bryan is a veteran in the pro wrestling business, and he was a free agent as of May. He was in the WrestleMania main event with Roman Reigns and Edge. He had a loser leaves brand match on SmackDown with Roman Reigns that he lost, and then he was a free agent. WWE 2K20 was released back in 2019, and it was such an abomination on launch that developers decided not to even produce a game the next year and skipped 2K21. Now that 2K22 is upon us, seemingly, I think the game comes out in September, if I'm not mistaken. It seems that one popular name will not be included in the game, and this is according to Andrew Zarian of Mat Men Podcast. WWE told developers of the game to not include Daniel Bryan in the upcoming WWE 2K22 game. This memo was sent out to all licenses, so it is highly unlikely fans will get to see Daniel Bryan associated with WWE anytime soon. If you guys needed any more confirmation on what Bodyslam.net and Cassidy Haynes had reported already, that Daniel Bryan is 100% signed, sealed, and delivered for AEW. It's done. It's done. I don't know what else to tell you on top of what Jesse and I have already talked about. This is a game changer. Daniel Bryan may be a bigger game changer than CM Punk. Because Daniel Bryan is coming off a WrestleMania main event. Daniel Bryan has been consistent on WWE television. Daniel Bryan still has that momentum. Daniel Bryan has that name value that is still fresh in everybody's mind coming off WWE television. And like I said, a WrestleMania main event with Roman Reigns and Edge and a great singles match, a great singles feud with Roman Reigns that went back to Fastlane, onto WrestleMania, and then onto SmackDown. They had a trio of great matches. Daniel Bryan is noteworthy, and he's going to be a game changer for AEW. Daniel Bryan, the thing with him is he wanted dates in Japan. It's not about money. Daniel Bryan was always going to make money based off the name value that he had anyway. Daniel Bryan wanted a light schedule. He knows that his body, nobody knows his body better than him. He knows his body's not going to be able to work that high rate level that AEW has on a weekly basis. He wants to pick his spots. He wants to pick his storylines. He wants to save himself and be ready for some matches over in Japan. He's got some dream matches over there. He wants to work Okada, Naito, Tanahashi, Will Ospreay, you name it, Zack Sabre Jr., you name it. He wants to wrestle in Japan. As we all know, WWE doesn't play well with others. They don't want their talent going somewhere else where they have no control over it. Creatively or just on their watch, him getting injured, WWE will not stand for that. They don't play well with others. They don't want any of their IPs. They don't want any of their contracted talent to go somewhere, do something great, not associated with WWE. That's their one biggest fear. That's why they refuse to create superstars. That's why they refuse to create the next Rock or the next John Cena or the next Hulk Hogan. They'll never do it again. And they're running into a problem with Roman Reigns. After Roman Reigns, who is next? You're lucky you had Roman Reigns in that lineage of guys. Roman Reigns is not even at that John Cena level yet. But who are you going to replace Roman Reigns with when the time comes? You have nobody. You have nobody on that roster. Especially in Vince McMahon's eyes. I don't think Vince McMahon gives a shit about anybody on that roster the way he cares about Roman Reigns. But Daniel Bryan signed with AEW because they were giving him everything he wanted. And to be honest with you, all the people saying that Daniel Bryan's a turncoat, Daniel Bryan is a traitor, Daniel Bryan is a WWE guy scooped up by AEW once again. Look at Tony Khan. All the mentally fucking inept idiots on social media who don't have a fucking clue about everything while you hide behind your fucking Bailey avatar or your anime avatar. You fucking virgin. Everybody's like Daniel Bryan's a traitor. Really? If you were a fan of Daniel Bryan in WWE, why won't you be a fan of Daniel Bryan while he goes on to be fucking happy? That's what I want to know. What's the problem? So you just ousted yourself as not a fan of Bryan Danielson. The guy is happy. The guy wants to be happy. The guy's making himself happy. So why can't we be happy for him? If I was pro WWE and I hated AEW's guts, don't you think I'd be watching AEW? Of course I would. Of course I'd be watching AEW, which I'm not surprised. People don't grasp this. Wrestling like this nowadays, WWE kind of being semi-hot with Reigns and Cena. That's all they got going for them right now. And AEW doing their thing. This is good for the business. Don't you think the business needed this type of renaissance? Don't you think the business needed this fucking punch to the face coming out of the pandemic? Why wouldn't you be in favor of this? That's what I don't understand. What's your problem? Why are you so vehemently against Daniel Bryan going to AEW? What the fuck are you thinking? You gotta think logically about this. If he went to WWE and WWE signed him again, which I thought was gonna be the case, I thought he'd show up on Monday Night Raw. If he went back to WWE, what would he be doing? That's the question. And that's the question he probably asked. What would I be doing? What do you have for me? WWE champion? Great. I pitched how many fucking matches? Daniel Bryan versus Bobby Lashley. Have him beat Bobby Lashley. Have him be the WWE championship. Have him be the WWE champion. Bring up Adam Cole. Have the major program for months for the WWE championship between Adam Cole, bye-bye, and Daniel Bryan. Got Daniel Bryan and Edge. You can move Edge over to Monday Night Raw, being that's where he came from. He won the Royal Rumble as a Raw superstar. Daniel Bryan versus Edge again. Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles. Daniel Bryan versus Finn Balor. He could have did a ton of shit. Keith Lee. Daniel Bryan versus Keith Lee. He had matches to do. But the names that I just listed off to you, they're not in WWE's itinerary. They're not in WWE's plan book. So where did that leave Daniel Bryan? It left him with Darby Allin, Jungle Boy, Omega, Matt and Nick Jackson, Penta, Phoenix, Andrade, Malachi, Cody, Pac, Orange Cassidy, MJF, Sammy Guevara, Ricky Starks. The list goes on and on. The Daniel Bryan matches that we could see, it's endless. It is endless. Miro. Why would you not want this guy to go and be happy? To go and be successful? I guess you didn't really know what Daniel Bryan wanted at all, even though you thought you did. Daniel Bryan wants to wrestle. Daniel Bryan wants creativity to flow. Daniel Bryan wants new, fresh, and exciting. Said this about CM Punk, and I'm going to reiterate it again with CM Punk when I get to his news. You think Daniel Bryan wanted to remain stagnant? I'm sure Daniel Bryan gave a lot of thought to WWE. But I'm sure Daniel Bryan also gave a lot of thought to AEW as well. The first time he was a free agent, not this time, the last time he was a free agent, and he signed an additional 2 years to stay with the company. You don't think this man thought about jumping ship? Maybe going to Japan, maybe going back to Ring of Honor, leaving WWE? He stayed in WWE because WWE gave him what he wanted as far as the schedule goes. His desires and his wants changed in the last 2 years. He wants to do more before he retires. WWE will not give him that more. Daniel Bryan stayed because WWE cleared him and gave him the world. They gave him the platform to come back on after being away for 4 years, and he owed them that. Now he wants more. WWE wasn't going to give him what he wanted now. So he went somewhere that was going to give him everything that he requested. If you can't be happy for somebody like that, I don't know what will. And like I said, Daniel Bryan waited to see what AEW was going to do. Daniel Bryan didn't sign with AEW back in the day when he was still a free agent 2-3 years ago. He waited. Why did he wait? He wanted to see what AEW was going to do for themselves. Are they a serious brand? Are they going to be taken seriously? Are they going to be booking creatively to my liking? Are they going to put on good television on a weekly basis? Is there going to be a major spotlight on them? Am I going to go there and be an embarrassment? Is it going to be a wrong career decision or choice for me? In the 2 years that he waited and the 2 years that he worked for WWE, he had some pretty damn good fucking matches while also keeping a mindful eye on what AEW was doing. Now he knows. This made his decision that much easier. Good on him. And if you're not with Daniel Bryan, you were never a Daniel Bryan fan to begin with. Ever. Just another little caveat here. Conan, we've seen him on AEW television with Santana and Ortiz as of late. Conan asked Tony Khan if Bryan Danielson signed with AEW. On his latest podcast, Conan said he wanted to book Bryan Danielson in AAA. And he asked Tony Khan if Danielson is signed with All Elite Wrestling. Conan said, and I quote, "I will tell you this because I did ask Tony Khan. The only reason I asked him is because I wanted to use Bryan Danielson in AAA. I was like, hey man, have you signed Bryan Danielson? He goes, I can't tell you that. And then I looked at him and I go, bro, if that shit shows up in Chicago, that place is going to melt. He smiled, so I think he might have, but he has not told me." End quote. Just another little aspect to everything that's going on in AEW as it pertains to Daniel Bryan. From Conan, he's signed, sealed, and delivered. AEW, I talked about this on Thursday. There's a little bit more urgency to sign CM Punk, though. Bryan's already signed. He was a lot easier to negotiate with. CM Punk is a little bit more difficult to negotiate with, being that he's been away for 7 years and he has outwardly stated what he likes and what he doesn't like about the industry, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult to sign someone like CM Punk. Andrew Zarian brought up the possibility of CM Punk returning to pro wrestling. He said that AEW is a bit more urgent for CM Punk signing because of September 5th's All Out. And that is a perfect time for Punk's debut. He says, and I quote, "I would say that there is more urgency. The CM Punk thing is taking a little bit longer, but you kind of got a month and a half because you definitely want him for Chicago for All Out. Because if this is it, then you want him on that show before Chicago." End quote. I don't necessarily agree before the show in Chicago. He shows up in Chicago. Simple. He shows up at the end of the main event, whatever the main event is, whether Page wins it, whether Omega wins it. At this point, I'm going with Omega. I think Adam Page and him having friends after the Dark Order lets him down, which I'm assuming the Dark Order is going to leave the Page scenario in a little bit. That's just the way I feel. Or I think Page is going to leave the Dark Order scenario. I think if you have Page go into the match with Omega and they get it anyway, and he loses by some tomfoolery or some fuckery, I think they could book themselves in a situation where Kenny Omega cheats to win. He's still the champion. And then the Elite is just overbearing. At that point, Adam Page has left the Dark Order and he brings back friends that he didn't know he had, or friends aligned with him that he didn't know he had. And that is CM Punk. And he shows up at the end of the show, and he shows up to back Adam Hangman Page, and he shows up, and the place goes fucking crazy when they hear Cult of Personality. But Daniel Bryan was easy. Tony Khan gave him what he wanted. It was an easy negotiation. CM Punk, the same thing that I mentioned with Daniel Bryan, he was waiting to see if his name was going to fit well the way he thought CM Punk's name should fit with AEW. He waited to see what they were going to do. And I honestly think, with Bryan being signed first, it was all the confirmation CM Punk needed to go to AEW. He was thinking, is this the right choice? I'm going to give it a little bit to see what's going on. And then CM Punk signed when Daniel Bryan signed. For all we know, CM Punk and Daniel Bryan could have been in cahoots. They could have been in talks together about what their plans were going to be. Bryan could have told Punk, hey, I'm a free agent on so-and-so during this month, during this year. I'm going to be talking to Tony Khan. I'm going to listen to what he has to say. If I sign, that gives you a shoe-in to really get a feel for what I'm thinking and where I think my career is best. And by all accounts, you could use that and see where you want to go if you want to come back to pro wrestling. But if I'm coming back and I'm going over here, I'd like you to join me. And if it's good enough for me, you know I never steer you wrong. You know it would be good enough for you. And that's exactly what I think happened. I really, really do think That's what happened. Because I said this for months. I said this for years. Going back to the OG off the scripts. Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, WrestleMania 30. This should have been the WrestleMania 30 main event. I said this for years. Go back and listen. If CM Punk was going to come back to professional wrestling, it was going to be Daniel Bryan that had a hand or a part in it, and vice versa. And now here they are, signing in the same week with the same company. It's not by coincidence. It's not by fucking God's stroke of luck. This is by design. What you're seeing is history in the making, ladies and gentlemen. And it all is a part of the same puzzle. I can sit here and talk about dream matches. I can sit here and talk about what I think CM Punk would do best and how you would introduce him and what you would do with him. I'm not here to do that. He signed with the company, and the biggest thing right now, the biggest takeaway from CM Punk joining AEW is the fact that they are drastically changing the momentum of this industry. The winds of change are happening. You are watching modern day wrestling history unfold right before your eyes. You are a part of pro wrestling history on September 5th because now more than ever, I'd be the first to tell you, I don't think he's showing up. I always want to say, I think Punk's showing up. Oh, they're in Chicago. I think Punk's showing up. I think we all had an idea that Punk was going to AEW. I don't feel that way this year. I am 100% confident that CM Punk is going to be in Chicago on September 5th. Tony Khan knows he has to deliver it. The fans know it's about to happen. They feel it. It's being felt on social media. You see it while watching Dynamite that there's a different feeling in the air. It's changing. The winds of change are happening. And I can't be more excited about it. This is going to be something that we're going to be telling our fucking grandkids about. On this night, two of the biggest names in WWE history defected to AEW. I'm not going to say that this is a bigger moment than the NWO or a moment like the NWO with Hall and Nash and Hogan. That changed the industry forever. AEW is not on the precipice of putting WWE out of business like WCW was. But all we want as a fan base in 2021 is for wrestling to thrive. That's the fucking problem. That's what everybody desires most. They want wrestling to thrive. I think everybody, the smart ones anyway, you got your black hole of Twitter and you got your black hole of the community that are going to hate AEW just because it's the cool thing to do. You're going to have your people who hate WWE because it's the cool thing to do. But they deserve all the hate that they get. I mean, just watch their fucking shows. But I think the majority of the fans want professional wrestling. And they feel with this move being right, happening now, I honestly think that if you're a fan of AEW or not, if you're right in the middle and you just feel like I do, you don't really have an allegiance to either brand. You're just a pro wrestling fan. I'm a pro wrestling fan. I don't take AEW over WWE. By weekly television, I do, but I'm not going to sit here and claim my fandom for AEW. I'm not going to sit here and claim my fandom for WWE. I'm a pro wrestling enthusiast. I project my feelings and what I'm watching to you guys in podcast form. I'm a fan. I go about doing my thing, booking how I would do it, telling you what I think is right and what is wrong, what I see on weekly television that I like and don't like. Everybody has an opinion. I'm just fortunate that my opinion matters to so many fucking people. But I'm right in the middle. I am not AEW. I'm not WWE. You know what I am for? Everybody being good. Do you think I want to be here on Monday night? You think I want to be here on Monday night yelling my brains out, stressed, losing my voice, angry because WWE sucks? I don't think we can help them. I don't think we can get good on Monday night. Just because the way the show is being run by the people that run it, they will not change. The only thing that will change as far as the show getting better is when those people are gone. But that's what we want. We want better professional wrestling. Tony Khan is giving us better professional wrestling. Look at what he's done in 2 years. Look at what he's done this week. You don't think the guy knows what he's doing? By bringing in Bryan and Punk, what I hope happens is that WWE says, oh shit, look at that. How are we going to top that? What can we do to get people excited about that? And how do we make our shows better? That's what I want. I don't want AEW to kill WWE. I don't want AEW to overtake WWE. I don't want WWE to overtake AEW. I'm right in the middle. I want better professional wrestling. That's why I don't understand why people hate one over the other, like one over the other. You should all be on the same fucking team. This is not rooting for the Mets or the Yankees, the Dodgers or the Padres, the Red Sox and the Yankees. This is not anything like that. Why are you making it such a complete mockery in the wrestling division? You're splitting everybody in half, pretty much forcing them to pick a side. Why would you want to do that? We should all want better professional wrestling. Simple. Yes, there's an urgency to sign CM Punk. There's an urgency just because of the date of the event in the city that event is taking place. There's not an urgency to sign him because AEW thinks he's going to go to WWE. Punk knows that there's nothing for him over there. Nothing. He knows he'll step foot in there, and the only thing that he'll have on his mind is that he was fired on his wedding day. How they treated him like shit the first time. He knows by going here that Tony Khan appreciates the art of professional wrestling. In WWE, all you have to do is watch Monday Night Raw. They don't. CM Punk is a done deal, says Ringside News. It's a done deal. According to a report from Fightful Select, AEW is most likely the landing pad for CM Punk. Ringside News can confirm that the talks are far along at this point. In fact, we were told here at Ringside News that it was pretty much a done deal. Now, Fightful Select also noted that Ring of Honor has made several attempts towards CM Punk to bring him back. Obviously, he declined the offer, but it would have been very interesting for CM Punk to go back to where he pretty much was born. It was reported back in January 2020 that Ring of Honor and specifically Marty Scurll sent out feelers to CM Punk. That was when he was a part of the creative team. He is no longer affiliated with Ring of Honor anymore after speaking out and him being accused of what he was accused of. The conversations didn't go very far, but there was interest from Ring of Honor's side, and they tried to bring him in. Another interesting note is that the report stated that the general idea was opponents and general plans were more important than dollars offered to CM Punk. A source has confirmed to us that CM Punk's agreement and arrangement to work for AEW is a done deal. At this point, they are waiting until they are in person to sign the contract. That was on Thursday. Then we get to Friday. It's 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon, and I could say I'm pretty confident that this is a done deal. You guys were tweeting me about this being a done deal. I'm confident enough to know that this is a done deal. And like I said, with one piece already being signed, it definitely had so much to do with the other coming in. Bryan being signed was the only thing that Punk needed to do. Only thing you needed to see. CM Punk signs a contract with AEW as of Friday, says Ringside News. They exclusively reported that it was virtually done. All they needed to do was sign the contract. Punk, we can report now that the deal is finished. A source has confirmed that Punk signed on this morning. Obviously, there's a lot of excitement over this deal. It was not confirmed when he will debut, but we were told Punk will be on TV every single week for Dynamite. So Ringside News is pretty confident. They've broken a lot of stories in the last 6 to 12 months. They know what they're doing. They would not, the people that run that site are not going to put their name out there and fucking have it be wrong, especially with something like this. It's done, folks. I don't care who you are or what you think of Ringside News. It's done. CM Punk is AEW. Now, another sign that CM Punk has signed on, I don't really take this to be much of anything, but this is just CM Punk. Dave Meltzer talked about this. He posted something on his Instagram stories that seems to hint he may be appearing at AEW's All Out on September 5th. Dave Meltzer talked about how CM Punk played the theme to the Chicago Bulls before they made their way to the court when Jordan and Pippen and Rodman were all introduced in the fucking glory days of the Bulls. How that song would play. I forgot the name of the band, but it was the synonymous theme with the Bulls when they came out and played in the United Center. He posted that on social media. So, I mean, I don't really take that to be much of anything. Punk would do that if he was not leaning towards a pro wrestling return, period, just to get people talking. He likes to fuck with people online. So he knows what he's doing when it comes to the online presence. But I do think that there's some truth to that Instagram story. Meltzer noted in The Observer that there are things going on behind the scenes in AEW that suggest that if Punk isn't signed, then at least there is an understanding that he is either A, going to sign, and B, with them. Meltzer noted that there have been talks about certain dates with Punk, which is an indication that things are pretty far along or he has already signed. Meltzer says, and I quote, "Things going on behind the scenes as far as talks about certain dates and makes me think that if he isn't signed, they have an understanding. And unless there is a blow-up, CM Punk coming to AEW is happening." Like I said, folks, this is a time in history that I think we all need to appreciate. I think now more than ever, wrestling fans need to come together and they need to get excited over the love of professional wrestling. It's no longer Daniel Bryan and CM Punk joining AEW is no longer about who's better, AEW or WWE. AEW taking down the monster Vince McMahon and WWE. AEW getting ratings on Monday night, potentially going to Monday night and challenging Monday Night Raw, getting bigger ratings than SmackDown. It's not about that. You're living in a day and age right now where this is about professional wrestling, not your standum or your fandom for AEW or WWE and then hating the other brand because you're so much in favor of one over the other. This is about professional wrestling. Punk and Bryan is about the love of professional wrestling. You all, I, have cried for an alternative for years. WWE has failed to give us an alternative. Now we're getting it. Be happy that you're living in this moment. Moments like this don't come around all that often. Punk and Bryan signing with the company like AEW at the same time in the same week does not happen unless something special is going on. Those men are not going to put their careers and their livelihoods on the line for something that they're not confident about. I urge you, this is about professional wrestling. Put your fucking fandom away. Enjoy it for what it is. More than likely, WWE is going to continue to suck on a weekly basis. AEW will probably be the better show during the week. But all that aside, there's no reason to hate these guys going over there. There's no reason to chime in about AEW needing WWE guys. This is a business move because Tony Khan loves professional wrestling. And he stated it from day one. They're changing the world. I don't know how you could change the world without Daniel Bryan and CM Punk. Thank you guys for sticking with me, man. This is the second half of the podcast right here on Off the Script. It is episode 384 of the podcast. It is July 24th, 2021. We still have a lot to get into, including Charlotte Flair. Looking at my bullet points here. Charlotte Flair and everything she's done in NXT erased on the main roster. Vince McMahon no longer acknowledging anything that Charlotte Flair has done in NXT. I also got additional news and information on Karrion Kross and his burial, because that's exactly what it was, a fucking burial, so much that we read him his last rites on Monday during the live stream. Burial on Monday Night Raw. Additional news and information coming out of his match with Jeff Hardy and what happened at the recent NXT tapings on Wednesday. Plus, your Monday Night Raw, NXT, Dynamite, and SmackDown news, rumors, and coverage coming out of this week's television shows. But before I do that, guys, I want to shout out my great friends over at sheathunderwear.com. That is sheathunderwear.com/script. If you guys go to that website, you're going to use code SCRIPT at checkout for 20% off your entire purchase, man. And I got a pair right here. These are my go-to for the summer, man. Sheath, right there. sheathunderwear.com/script. They are boxers that are designed to keep your balls off your legs. Sheath has 3 individual compartments to keep everything down there separate and cool, and most importantly, comfortable. Traditional boxer briefs. Who wears them? Are you barbaric enough to wear them, man? Seriously, in this weather? Give me a break. And they were invented during the quote-unquote Neanderthal era. Sheath has a beautiful design intended to prevent skin-on-skin contact for long durations, which can build up heat and sweat. Sheath also prevents all of that and is the holy grail of underwear. This is an inverted kangaroo pouch. Now, as you guys saw here, I hope you did. You see right there, right on the front. You got an inverted kangaroo pouch right there to keep all your situation from sticking to your thigh. You will chafe and readjust less because everything is in a separate compartment. And because everything is separate, there's less smell too. Because let's be real, folks. Your wife, your girl, your partner, they don't want smelly balls. Why would you? So that's great as well. They were invented by a U.S. Army soldier who came up with the idea for Sheath during his second tour in Iraq, where it was obviously hot as balls and his boys needed to breathe. So he invented these underwear to keep his boys cool and comfortable. So I guess you could look at him as a modern-day Nikki Cross, a modern-day superhero. Actually, better than Nikki Cross. He's doing more for us than she is for us on Monday night. Anyway, guys, sheathunderwear.com. Use the code SCRIPTS, or you could use the link down below, sheathunderwear.com/script. You're going to save 20% off every single thing on their website. And, I mean, listen, it's the summertime, man. You're doing your balls a favor, right? You're doing your balls a favor in this heat. They're going to thank you as soon as you get to the website and order yourself some Sheath underwear, man. Script at checkout for 20% off. Once again, that's sheathunderwear.com/script. And I want to thank them for supporting the podcast right here on Off the Script. As we got some excellent tunes playing in the background, man. My boys in Pilot. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Anyway, let's get on with the rest of the show, guys. Let's start off with the SmackDown ratings. The latest edition of Friday Night SmackDown saw a ratings increase with fans in attendance. Friday's show averaged 2.310 million viewers on Fox, which is up from last week's show that did 1.986 million viewers, according to Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics. This is where everybody's getting their ratings report. Brandon is a scientist when it comes to this type of thing. I don't believe people understand the amount of work that goes into finding all these numbers, man. He does more than the ratings. So go and give him a follow on social media. This was the highest viewership for the show since January 22nd, where it did 2.383 million viewers. So not as high as that, but just about the same, coming in right underneath that show for January 22nd. In the all-important 18 to 49 demo, the show did a 0.66 rating. That was up drastically from the 0.48. This was the first show with fans back in attendance in over a year, and the go-home show for Sunday's Money in the Bank pay-per-view. The episode featured Bianca Belair versus Carmella. That was not all that good. that was the replacement for Bayley, because it was supposed to be Bayley versus Bianca Belair. And then they removed Carmella from the Money in the Bank, if you guys remember, and included Liv Morgan. Bayley tore her ACL under a Vince McMahon training edict where everybody had to be at the Performance Center before they went back in front of live fans. And she obviously was the one to get hurt when she didn't really need any training or additional training whatsoever, being that she was on TV almost every single week. Not good match between Bianca Belair and Carmella. Anyway, Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins versus Big E, Shinsuke Nakamura. That was a fatal four-way. That was short, sweet, and to the point. Seth Rollins won that. It was a situation where I stated on Friday when I talked about it on the post show, whoever wins this match is not winning Money in the Bank, and whoever takes the pinfall loss more than likely is the winner of Money in the Bank, and that's exactly how it ended up. Rollins won the fatal four-way, and Big E won the Money in the Bank. Roman Reigns and the Usos versus Edge and Roman Reigns with Dominic Mysterio. The Bloodline win that match because the Usos cheated. So that is what happened on SmackDown. Good show. Fans brought it back to where it really should be, but I said it on Friday. I'm going to say it here again. The show largely felt the same with or without fans. It was not really any different compared to what you usually have been watching on Friday night. Now, SmackDown, I'm recording this before tonight's show for SmackDown. They're going to be in Cleveland, Ohio, I believe, and part of the show is going to be at the Rolling Loud Music Festival. So it's going to be a dual-branded broadcast tonight. Now, you guys are watching this on Saturday, obviously, but before the Rolling Loud Music Festival and everything that goes along with it got set up, there was a video wall and stage ahead of the Rolling Loud Music Festival that collapsed. It collapsed during building and setting it up. Things were hectic at the Miami Gardens in Florida earlier on Thursday as a giant video wall and part of the stage collapsed at Hard Rock Stadium as crews prepared for a 3-day Rolling Loud rap festival. WWE will air matches, and as you guys seen this, aired matches from Rolling Loud on Friday, the first day of the festival, which is the largest or one of the largest music festivals in the world. Friday SmackDown on Fox aired the broadcast as a dual broadcast between Cleveland, Ohio, the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, and Rolling Loud Music Festival. The local NBC affiliate in Miami reports that nobody was injured on Thursday and that the show will go on as planned. The video structure collapsed over what appears to be a stage. At around 6 p.m. local time on Thursday, festival organizers were seen covering the structure with a giant black tarp. And around that time, Rolling Loud released a statement on Twitter. And they say, and I quote, "In case you guys see the news or see it on the news, a screen fell down at one of our stages. Nobody was hurt, and it will be fixed before doors open tomorrow. The show goes on." End quote. Now, there's no official word on what exactly caused the collapse. Maybe they watched Monday Night Raw and they were fearing for their livelihoods. I don't know. But as of 10:30 p.m., things were back underway. Matches confirmed for Rolling Loud include Apollo Crews versus Big E in what I believe is a non-title match. Again, I don't get why Big E is wrestling Apollo Crews with the Intercontinental Champion not affording a loss. Why would anybody think Big E is going to lose after winning Money in the Bank? But I will say this. Vince McMahon, and I don't know what happens on SmackDown tonight, being that I'm 2 hours away from SmackDown. Vince McMahon usually in the mindset with Money in the Bank every year, he usually is one to think, well, he's the Money in the Bank briefcase winner. He can afford a loss because he's got the championship match in his back pocket. So we may actually see Apollo Crews beat Big E. And I will go over that on Friday when I do the live stream. Carmella puts the SmackDown, or actually Bianca Belair rather, puts the SmackDown Women's title on the line against Carmella again. Don't know why, but we're getting that match again. SmackDown will also feature Toni Storm's official main roster debut, plus John Cena is confronting Roman Reigns about SummerSlam's Universal title match, and those situations will more than likely happen in Cleveland. So that is that. Dynamite on the 21st of July, Fyter Fest Night 2. tops 1.1 million viewers. Dynamite drew 1.148 million viewers, which is up from the previous week of 1.025. This was the third highest show in AEW history since the show debuted in October of 2019. In the 18 to 49 demo, the show did a 0.44, which is up from a 0.40 last week. Brandon Thurston, once again, of WrestleNomics, reported the news as far as the ratings and the demographics are concerned. Last week's show went up against the NBA Finals on ABC, but still managed to hit over 1 million viewers, which marked the first time they've done that since the May 5th episode of Dynamite, which was the Blood and Guts match. Fyter Fest Night 2 saw AEW Women's Champion Britt Baker defeat Nyla Rose in an okay match. Not really much going on there. Orange Cassidy defeated The Blade. IWGP United States Champion Jon Moxley defended against Lance Archer in a Texas death match. Lance Archer is the new IWGP United States Champion. And Jericho defeated Shawn Spears in his first Labor of Jericho match, with MJF calling out Jericho for having Sammy Guevara help him on night one. Said that if any more of the Inner Circle help, he will not get his match with MJF at All Out. And then proceeded to book week 2 of the Labor of Jericho. Jericho versus Nick Gage of GCW fame, deathmatch fame. Jericho is bringing back the Painmaker for this no DQ, anything goes match on Dynamite, which I am morbidly curious about. I'm pretty sure everybody realizes that Jericho's going to win. How is he going to get that win? And how far will Tony Khan allow Nick Gage to go on TNT? Again, folks, I am morbidly curious about what is going on here. Night 1 was better than night 2, but night 2 was a lot of fun on TNT. That's also when we got the news of Daniel Bryan being signed by AEW. That was reported by Cassidy Haynes of Bodyslam.net. AEW is eyeing 2 very special event ideas. Now, it was, I guess, revealed on Dynamite that Tony Khan would be on the show to announce something major as far as a new event for AEW. We don't know what the idea is or what the event is, but we have some idea, according to some sources in the community. Now, the current line of thinking is that AEW will eventually run the United Center. This was obviously teased by CM Punk in a new Instagram story. It was a blank screen of nothing but the Alan Parsons Project playing the same song that the Chicago Bulls came out to during their prime at the United Center. This caused a lot of attention amongst fans. Now, I think a lot of fans kind of correlated to the return of CM Punk and him kind of teasing that he's coming back. But it could very well be him teasing something for AEW as well. Pretty much kind of giving away that he's already in cahoots with them in some way. Probably already signed, and he's just kind of jumping the gun there. And Tony kind of allowed him to do that because you never know what he's thinking. He does what he does when he wants. Nobody knows what he's thinking. He does this thing if he's not in pro wrestling. He does this trolling on social media if he's not in pro wrestling. So who knows? So that's one idea that AEW would run the United Center, something that the WWE really does tend to run when they're in town. I believe Monday Night Raw is actually happening there not too far from now. A couple of weeks, actually. So AEW may eventually run the United Center. When? I don't know. But I do think that with All Out, if they wanted to run the United Center and really book the show for All Out, they probably would have sold out the United Center just like they did All Out in less than 15 minutes. So we'll see what happens there. That's a possibility. The date and time has not been revealed. Now, the other idea is that AEW could possibly hold a show in the United Kingdom as well. Tony Khan stated last year that Fyter Fest was actually supposed to happen in London, but the pandemic nixed those plans. No location for any UK event has been confirmed at this time, and we've heard that November is a possibility for AEW in the United Kingdom. AEW has their current touring dates booked until October. Ringside News exclusively reported also, like I mentioned, that CM Punk's deal is done. He is signed with the company. That's why everybody was going crazy about the Alan Parsons Project Instagram story that Punk put on Instagram. But with everything that's going on, man, AEW is riding a wicked wave of momentum. They are the hottest thing right now going. They know it. Fans know it. It's an exciting time to be a pro wrestling fan. It really is. So I'm very curious to know what Tony Khan does. He will be on Wednesday's Dynamite to let everybody know what this plan actually is. But those are the two ideas right there. I could see it being either one of them. But I can absolutely see it being the United Center and AEW is grounded in Chicago. I think that would be a major deal. Major deal. In fact, AEW is going to be having these quarterly events in between pay-per-views, right? So we got Grand Slam happening in Arthur Ashe Stadium in September, and they're going to be in between shows, almost like mini pay-per-views, before we get to the actual pay-per-view. Who's to say that the next Grand Slam-like event isn't at the United Center? That may be the case. Or it may be in the United Kingdom. Who knows? But I think it's going to be one of them off-branded pay-per-views that AEW does. I think that would be a great thing for them. And I'm very excited about that because that is the mentality. That is the actual schedule I wish WWE would actually go out there and do for themselves. I think WWE has way too many pay-per-views. I don't think pay-per-views really measure up to being pay-per-views in WWE anymore. And I think AEW is going about it the right way. So we'll see what happens. Who's to say the next Grand Slam show or the next Grand Slam-like show isn't at the United Center? They're going to have the manpower to sell it out. Why not? So we'll find out on Wednesday. Thunder Rosa's contract was bought out by AEW. Tony Khan, man, he's spending money left and right this week. Fightful Select reported that her NWA contract ran through the rest of the year, but a buyout of the deal was orchestrated by Tony Khan. Rosa had requested a release from NWA as far back as 2020, but that was rejected. It was said that Tony Khan was very careful about not contract tampering and wanted to play by the book on the situation. Originally, Tony Khan and Billy Corgan, who's in charge of NWA, worked out a deal for Rosa to work for AEW when NWA stopped holding shows due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Dave Meltzer reported in the latest edition of Wrestling Observer that everything has worked out with all parties for her to get out of her NWA release on July 1st. Rosa then signed with AEW shortly after that date, but AEW waited a few weeks to announce it. Meltzer added that Rosa got a great offer from AEW, and it's likely AEW will push her stronger now that she's under contract full time. The hardest working woman right now, not to take anything away from anybody else as far as women's wrestling is concerned, but I think everybody is in the same boat. They see what Thunder Rosa is doing, working Impact, working NWA, working AEW, being in charge of Mission Pro Wrestling, molding the future of women's wrestling with her own promotion while taking care of her own career at the same time. She's everywhere. Training for MMA. It's almost as if the woman isn't human. It's almost as if the woman doesn't know how to relax. But she signed to AEW, and it was announced on her birthday yesterday. So happy belated birthday to Thunder Rosa. And AEW just picked up one of the most sought-after free agents again on the market, and somebody who's going to be the face of this division for years to come. We may be getting that Thunder Rosa Britt Baker match sooner rather than later. It's a natural story. It's a shoe-in. You don't really have to do much to tell. As far as that story is concerned, she may be in Chicago against DMD for the Women's Championship. But that is a great pickup, and that division with Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa leading the way, I mean, it's very easy from there to start building your women's division and really making it something that could stand next to an Impact or an NXT. That's a great fucking move. So Tony Khan buys out Thunder Rosa's contract. She's now all elite, and that is one thing that I think fans were wondering about. When is she going to settle down and join AEW? We got it, folks. We got one of the best in the business, and Rosa is all elite. NXT. NXT's ratings for Tuesday, they were up for a second straight week. 709,000 viewers, which is up from 705,000 viewers the show did previously. Last week, did a 0.2 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic. That's up from a 0.19 rating a week ago. The show went up against the NBA Finals on ABC, unlike last week's show, which had NXT champion Karrion Kross. Sucks to be Kross this week, huh? Defending the title against Johnny Gargano in the main event. The basketball game was watched by 12.5 million viewers on ABC, according to sources. The episode of NXT this week featured Roderick Strong and Tyler Rust of Diamond Mine against Cruiserweight champion Kushida and Bobby Fish. Kushida and Bobby Fish got the win there. Not really all that special, but Diamond Mine is a new group on NXT television and already taking losses, which I don't really understand. They're a newly formed faction, and they're already taking losses. I don't get it. Raquel Gonzalez defended her title against Xia Li. That was a scary spot at the end of that match. Xia Li loses, as predicted. Raquel Gonzalez goes on to defend the title against who I think will be Dakota Kai at TakeOver SummerSlam weekend. LA Knight having Cameron Grimes in his corner as butler for his match against Drake Maverick. And LA Knight loses because Drake Maverick was more concerned with Cameron Grimes on the outside than he was with Drake Maverick. Frankie Monet won her third match in NXT. And Karrion Kross and Samoa Joe continued where we are inevitably going to get Samoa Joe versus Karrion Kross for the NXT Championship at TakeOver 36 SummerSlam weekend. Speaking of TakeOver 36, Meltzer pointed out how it makes sense for WWE to move TakeOver to Las Vegas, where they could probably do 5,000 to 10,000 fans or more, compared to having the show at the Capitol Wrestling Center in front of 300 fans. So, SummerSlam is August 21st. TakeOver is going to be August 22nd. That's Sunday, the next day. Wrestling fans are already traveling to Vegas for that weekend. So WWE, usually when things are back to normal, they usually make destination weekends out of weekends like this. So the fact that they won't do TakeOver in front of fans at Las Vegas or in Las Vegas is mind-boggling to me. Why do you want... The one thing I said about TakeOver was that you got to get it out of Full Sail and you got to get it out of the Capitol Wrestling Center. It doesn't even feel like TakeOver. I need noise. I need audible volume for these shows. And if you're looking at the fucking card for TakeOver, you're going to need a fucking crowd, especially for SummerSlam weekend. A crowd that is 5,000 to 10,000 deep. More than likely, you're going to get Kross versus Joe. You're going to get Kushida versus Roderick Strong. You're going to get Swerve versus Escobar. You're going to get Dakota versus Raquel. We already have Walter versus Ilya Dragunov for the NXT UK Championship. We may get Dexter Lumis and Indy Hartwell versus Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae. We're going to get Imperium versus MSK. Joe versus Kross, right, is the main event. You're going to need fans. You're going to need fans. I probably just booked most of TakeOver. I probably overbooked TakeOver. But going by what we know on television, that's where things are going. TakeOver needs to be in front of that many people. Otherwise, it's not TakeOver. The one thing that the pandemic ruined was NXT. The one thing that the pandemic ruined was TakeOver. Just as much as it ruined AEW. You see what AEW is doing now in front of 5,000, 6,000 people every week? That is what NXT needs. I don't want to hear any differently. So if they're going back to the Capitol Wrestling Center, it's not TakeOver. Now, they're talking about moving it. As of right now, the show is happening in Orlando, but there is talk of moving it. Move it. Move it. Move it to Vegas. But my question is, Is Vince McMahon going to want it back to back with the main roster? That's the problem. Because Vince McMahon has disowned NXT at this point. Does he want NXT to follow SummerSlam? Usually SummerSlam or the main roster is following NXT. Does he want NXT to follow SummerSlam? Does he want them to make SummerSlam look inferior? Because if TakeOver is going to get back in front of live fans, Triple H is going to bring it. He's going to bring it. He's going to go out of his way to make that show fucking great. Because you know what type of mentality he has, especially with what Vince did to Cross. Will Vince allow that? It's going to be up to Vince. It's not even up to Triple H. It's going to be all Vince McMahon's decision. TakeOver will happen in Vegas if Vince McMahon wants it to. So we have to wait and see. But right now it's in Orlando. I talked about this on Thursday on my Off the Script Extra. If you guys missed that, go and check it out. I'm going to briefly go over it right now. Karrion Kross and his loss on Monday Night Raw led to frustration and shock backstage. Now, in an update following Monday Night Raw, as you guys know, I don't need to recap. It's been talked about and talked about and talked about by everybody. Kross lost to Hardy. He came out. He looked half of what he looked like in NXT. He lost in 2 minutes as the NXT champion and seemingly got buried in his debut night on the main roster. In an update, several NXT talent and staff were reportedly shocked and frustrated with the loss, according to Fightful Select. There was reportedly significant frustration over how Finn Balor, Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano, Santos Escobar, Oney Lorcan, Pete Dunne, Tommaso Ciampa, and many others have looked, and they've worked so hard to get this guy over, only for him to get buried in 2 minutes to Jeff Hardy, who's been a proverbial jobber. The general mood among some in NXT was they weren't mad, but they were disappointed. And they felt like this represented how the NXT brand is viewed by WWE higher-ups as a whole. It was noted by one source that the loss felt like a message being sent, though they didn't elaborate on what they thought that message was. What message was it? Vince doesn't give a shit about you. I talked about this so many times on Raw, on Tuesday's NXT, and then on Thursday. I'm not repeating myself again. You guys know how I feel about this. It's all over the place. Vince doesn't give a fuck about Triple H and NXT because at one point in time, Triple H did everything that Vince was doing, but better. They looked at that with fucking anger. So he tried to kill it. Triple H sold NXT to Vince McMahon. How do you think they got to where they are? How do you think they signed all this talent? How do you think they made it to USA Network at 2 hours? Why do you think they went to compete with AEW? Triple H thought they were ready. Vince listened to Triple H and thought that he was ready, and they failed. They failed. So now everything that Triple H has done is going to be wiped away. Keith Lee, buried. Karrion Kross, buried. Anybody else to follow both of these men, buried. I fear for Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Bronson Reed. I fear for them all. None of them will see success until Vince McMahon says so. They may never see success, period. But none of them will see success until Vince McMahon says so, or until he's gone completely. Whether he passes away, whether he steps down, whether he's forcefully removed. Triple H is being punished by Vince McMahon because of his failure to beat AEW. Now, look at where AEW is. Vince McMahon, I don't think he realizes that he's making NXT into the developmental of not WWE, not for him. He's making NXT the developmental for AEW. Triple H is getting punished because of his failure to compete with AEW when he said he could. Vince McMahon didn't give a fuck about throwing NXT in front of the firing line. He didn't give a shit about killing the morale and the fucking heart and soul of NXT. He didn't care about anything that they did before that night where they went head-to-head with AEW on night one. He didn't give a shit. All he had in his mind was he wanted to stop AEW from growing, and now that he can't and he won't, he's going to take all of his anger out on Triple H and everything that he created. Triple H creates, Vince kills. Said it time and time and time again, to a point where fucking haters in the community are stealing my words word for word. Why are you? Because you know I've been right for years. So why don't you just come out of your fucking caves and admit it? Karrion Kross was buried because of that reason. And Karrion Kross, I'll get into it in a little bit, apparently had a back and forth with Adam Cole. And it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. Karrion Kross was buried because of Vince's problem with Triple H, which is a completely different problem from everything else that's happening right now in the world of pro wrestling. There's an internal turmoil in WWE right now where they're sabotaging NXT. Meanwhile, AEW is fucking white hot. Hotter than the fucking sun right now. WWE is internally killing themselves. But Karrion Kross, if you want to look at a character like Karrion Kross, they're not going to let that guy in the main roster. They're not going to let that guy in the main roster the way Triple H developed him. With Scarlett, with the entrance, with the lights, the smoke, the theme music, the whole nine. They're not going to allow that on the main roster because they didn't create it. They didn't create it. And if they think that Triple H and what he's done is better than what they're doing on the main roster, they'll kill that immediately. Kross can't have a better entrance than Roman Reigns. Kross can't have a better entrance than Drew McIntyre. Kross can't have a better entrance than AJ Styles, Bobby Lashley, The New Day, right? Can't overtake the elite in WWE, not something that was created by Triple H and manufactured in NXT. That would show Vince McMahon that he's not doing his job correctly. It's a shame. And I go and pinpoint the one thing that I hope resonates with a lot of people, and I always mention The Undertaker. You know? It's what they did with Black. They killed Aleister Black. They took his entire entrance away. They changed it up. At one point, they weren't even giving him a fucking entrance. Took his theme music away. Then they did the same thing to Kross. Took Scarlett away, took the entrance, the smoke, the lights. The whole music doesn't feel the same anymore with him coming down the aisle by himself. He looks like a fucking jobber. But what WWE doesn't understand is, if you did that to The Undertaker back in the 90s, would The Undertaker would he have been as big as he was coming out? What if you took his coat away? What if you took The Undertaker's big trench coat away? What if you took the top hat away? What if you did not give him the music you gave him? What if you didn't pair him with Paul Bearer, took Paul Bearer away from him? What if you took the urn away from him? You know, all of these things went with the act. It made the act what it was. The Undertaker wasn't great in ring earlier in his career. He got better as he aged. He aged like a fine bottle of wine. But with Karrion Kross, you want him to get over with the audience who doesn't know jack shit about him, then that entrance is going to mean everything to that man's career. What did they do? He's no better than fucking R-Truth or Akira Tozawa or Drew Gulak on the main roster. That's what you did to him. So yeah, I have a fucking problem with it. I have a fucking major problem with it. Now, regarding Kross, he appeared to be in good spirits backstage after the match. Of course he would be. He just got fucking punished. What is he going to say? He got punished for whatever reason because of the Cole altercation, which I'll get to. He got punished. What is he going to do? He's going to continue giving lip, or is he going to be a good little boy? Good spirits he was. One talent did note that Kross was put in a very unfavorable position considering his spot as a protected talent on one brand and a new talent on another brand. Now, Kross, the reason why he was beaten, Andrew Zarian talked about this on the Mat Men podcast. he was told something from someone in WWE. They wanted to know why fans were so upset by this news. It was also stated that Cross's loss to Hardy is just a step towards something bigger down the line. You know what the justification is? He cheated. So it's a cheap win. But he's a former world champion. So, it just shows you the lack of consistency with their champions. Jeff Hardy is a mega star. He changed the industry for smaller guys. He created a new time of wrestler, says Zarian. I asked about it, and they said, and this source told Zarian this, get this, I don't know why everyone is freaking out about this. It's just one step in the direction we have for Karrion Kross, and this is leading into something. I don't get it. I don't understand this. So you blatantly take from Triple H with the mentality to change. Who said we needed to change anything? Why are you changing him and his perception and his presentation on the main roster when this is exactly what NXT is for? I don't get it. And why are people upset about this? Why are people freaking out about this? We see him on Tuesday night, and then we see him on Monday, and he's not like we seen him on Tuesday. Who wouldn't be upset about that? You're asking fans to invest in the product, which they have. And then when you don't give them what they know and what they've wasted so many years investing their time in, when they see something like that changed, you don't expect people to ask fucking questions? Why are people freaked out about this? He was undefeated. He was the undefeated NXT champion for 2 years, -4 because of a shoulder injury. But you're asking why people are upset about this. You're either a fucking idiot or you're just as dumb as I expect you to be. You've got to be fucking stupid. You cannot be that ignorant. You can't. You cannot. Why are people freaking out about this? What? He lost to Jeff. Jeff Hardy hasn't been on TV in a meaningful way since his feud with Sheamus last year. Why wouldn't people freak out about this? Now, apparently, Karrion Kross was in a backstage altercation with Adam Cole. Adam Cole was called little man by Kross. Kross continued to egg Adam Cole on, going off the script, no pun intended. Adam Cole then came back and shot the line of, you're nothing without management behind you, the smoke and the mirrors and the pretty blonde. You know, without that, you're nothing. You're not special. You know what makes me special? When they ring the fucking bell. So Kross got upset about that. Cole retaliated like I expected Cole would do in a situation like that, because I know Cole doesn't like being called little man or having anything to do with his size. What does Adam Cole's size have to do with anything? He's one of the best pro wrestlers on the fucking planet. You should be lucky to have him employed. He's the next to defect to AEW. After what happened to Kross, why would Cole look at the main roster and say, hey, I can't wait to go up there? Then Adam Cole was chased to the timekeeper's area, threw a bottle of water across, which was in anger. You're seeing Kross seething with anger. He mentioned something to the security holding him back. You better keep him there. You better keep him there. Wait till I get you in the back. Or something along those lines. It was reported that Kross was punished because of this. Punished. Now, Triple H didn't punish him. I know that for a fact. Triple H didn't punish him. So, why is Vince McMahon punishing him? Why is Bruce Pritchard? Why is Monday Night Raw punishing him? I know for a fact Triple H is not punishing him. You want to know why? Listen to this. Kross's entrance during the tapings of NXT on Wednesday had to be reshot because of loud Jeff Hardy chants. Bodyslam.net reports that fans in attendance at the Capitol Wrestling Center on Wednesday chanted Hardy loudly enough that NXT had to reshoot his entrance. In fact, the chants were so much of an issue, they called to scrap everything they did and try it again. This was a segment with Cross and Samoa Joe. The chants was such a problem that they had fans stay around after to reshoot the whole scene, and it was also reported from someone in the building that fans were lied to in the process, saying, and I quote, "They even lied to us and said something special was going to happen so we wouldn't leave." One source said, "A crew member told me the show wasn't over. When we tried to leave, he told us there was a surprise," end quote. So let me get this straight, folks. Karrion Kross shows up on Wednesdays at NXT tapings that are going to be airing over the next 2 weeks on Sci-Fi, by the way, because of the Olympics on USA. Kross had everything reshot and redone. NXT Triple H obviously made the decision to reshoot it. They don't usually reshoot anything in this manner. So if Kross was punished because of Triple H, why would Triple H go and reshoot everything in regards to Kross? If he was the one in charge of punishing Kross, don't you think he would get a kick out of the Hardy chants on NXT Wednesday night? So right then and there, you know for a fact that Kross wasn't punished by Triple H. Triple H had nothing to do with him being called up. Triple H had nothing to do with him being buried on Monday night, though I wonder if he was backstage in Gorilla, wondering what the attitude was that he gave Vince McMahon after he saw his man, after 2 years as NXT champion, being beaten in 2 minutes. That's what I'd love to know. Was he there and did he say anything? But then again, he can't say shit. Just like he has no control over who gets called up and when they get called up, how they're used. Triple H did not punish Karrion Kross. This reshooting of his entrance on Wednesday that you'll see in the next couple weeks is confirmation that Triple H had absolutely nothing to do with anything as far as Kross being buried. Had nothing to do with him and Cole getting into a backstage fight. They probably sat these guys down and Triple H went over it with them and said, get this shit out of your system. We're professionals. Shit happens. Move on. We're all a family here. Triple H would never, ever, 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 ever put his man in a position to bury him like that and undo all of the plans that he did for 2 years. Triple H is not that reckless. If you think so, you're a fool. This was Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard only because of their problems with Triple H. They saw this guy undefeated. They saw the NXT champion. They wanted to make an embarrassment out of the NXT champion because of what Triple H failed to do on Wednesday night against AEW. That's it. And it goes back before AEW. Triple H was doing everything that the main roster should be doing. Booking, creative storylines, how to write shows, pay-per-views, 5 takeovers per year with big shows in between. Everything. And how he was operating NXT is what the main roster should be doing. He did everything better than them. You don't think they took note of that? I mentioned this as well. You don't think the main roster took note of all those takeovers going viral on Twitter? How the fans were claiming, Triple H, save us, please take over. Vince needs to go. Triple H needs to take over. You don't think that Vince heard those comments? You don't think Bruce and all of Triple H's fucking, all the things that Triple H, you don't think Bruce and Johnny Laurinaitis and all of Vince McMahon's fucking right-hand goons, you don't think they went back and told him? Vince knows. Vince is going to do whatever he has to do to kill whatever makes him look bad. That's exactly what he did with Kross and the statement. NXT talent was wondering, I don't know what the statement could possibly be. That's the statement. It was Vince's statement to Triple H. Nothing more. Monday Night Raw ratings increase. 1.923 million viewers on the USA Network, which was up from the 1.609 million The show did the previous week. Couldn't even get over it too, huh? Failure. Absolute failure. The demo saw a 0.57 in the 18 to 49. That's up from the 0.43 the show did the previous week. Last week's show ranked as the 5th lowest for Raw on record. And that was the final Thunderdome show ever. Hopefully. Monday's episode was the first Raw to have fans back in attendance and was the Money in the Bank post edition. This was the highest viewership Raw has done since April 12th of 2021 with a 2.026 million viewers. That was the post-WrestleMania show. And that is even low for WrestleMania standards. John Cena opened the show. He's a free agent. Why is he on Raw? WWE had him come out on Money in the Bank Sunday and not say a word. Then they promoted his appearance on Monday Night Raw, literally within hours of Money in the Bank going off the air, which is exactly what I would have done. Showed up, he didn't say anything, promote his first promo on Monday Night Raw. Perfect. He can go anywhere he wants. He's on Raw. He's going to be on SmackDown. He's going to be on Raw. He's going to be on SmackDown, leading into SummerSlam and leading into the Universal title match, chasing number 17 against Roman Reigns. So he's going to show up on Friday, and he's going to have Roman Reigns in his sights. Riddle and the Viking Raiders, Eric and Ivar versus AJ Styles, John Morrison, and Omos. So we got the Viking Raiders and Riddle winning that match. The Viking Raiders are getting yet another tag team match against Omos and Styles for the titles. Natalya and Tamina versus Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, rematch. Sheamus versus Humberto Carrillo, rematch. Bobby Lashley versus the Burial of Keith Lee, rematch. Keith Lee's return was nothing more than a gateway for Bill Goldberg to show up, which was a fucking pathetic scene, if I ever seen one. Keith Lee buried on Monday Night Raw, showing back up unadvertised and losing in 6 minutes. Great job there. We got Karrion Kross versus Jeff Hardy. I just went over and talked about that again. Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte in the main event, and then Jackson Riker and Elias in a no DQ match or a Symphony of Destruction match, I believe is what they called it. Who cares? Monday Night Raw was basically the fucking same show that you usually get on Monday night, but with fans. Something that I've also been preaching for months in the middle of the pandemic. Charlotte Flair fires back at her haters again with yet another idiotic statement. Get this, folks. Charlotte Flair is a fucking idiot. I think we all realize that now. So she was on Out of Character. Now, this is a podcast hosted by some fucking geek with a shit haircut who looks like a fucking idiot, who's nothing more than a shill and a cocksucker. I got better hair than you fucking loser. How's your barber doing, huh? Does your barber still listen to Bad Bunny? Or how about that asparagus in the fucking vegetable aisle? You got any porn stars that walked by there in recent memory? Fucking geek. I hope you're in Chicago, bitch. Anyway, Charlotte Flair, she hit back at fans who complained that she is greedy for wanting to win the Raw Women's Championship, despite the fact that she hadn't won the title since 2017. Her previous reign ended, and get this, folks, this is an actual number that someone did research on. Her previous reign ended 1,616 days ago against Bayley on Monday Night Raw. That was before Monday. And her losing the championship in less than 24 hours. She says, first of all, the women's division is so much smaller than the men's division. Whose problem is that? That shouldn't be a fucking problem, Miss Flair. The women's division should be merged, and the women's division should be flourishing. So that's part of the issue as a whole, right? But here's the thing. I have not won the Raw Women's Championship since 2017, so I'm greedy because I want to win it in 2021. People don't look at the facts. End quote. She may be as dumb as I think she is. I seriously do. It's not the fact that WWE has a small division. It's the simple fact that no matter what, They always cater to you in every sense of the word. Ever since you came back, they put you in a championship situation. As soon as you came back, they teamed you with Asuka, which made absolutely no fucking sense at all. You cannot convince me of a reason as to how that made sense. Won the tag team championships. You lost those tag team championships to Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, and then you went right back into singles competition and beat the women's champion. It took a little bit to get there, but you beat Rhea Ripley. You didn't do enough to fucking harm the career of Rhea Ripley. Right, Miss Flair? The problem is WWE caters to Charlotte Flair at every given whim. That's it. We want new, we want fresh, we want exciting. Charlotte Flair is all of those things opposite. I can't stand this woman. Then she wants to know why we hate her, or why we pick up the remote control when we're watching Charlotte Flair on television, to mute her when she's cutting a promo, or to look away when she's wrestling a nothing match on Monday Night Raw, or why we're not invested in storylines when she's in a storyline for the Raw Women's Championship. Why is that? WWE loves to fucking take the goddamn Charlotte Flair plunger and jam it down your fucking throat. Why do we hate her? Why are fans always so negative when it comes to Charlotte Flair? This is the reason, Miss Flair. And I think you know this very well as well, but you're not going to say anything at all. You know this for a fact, but you're not going to say anything. You're a selfish bitch. You don't care about the fucking division. You don't say anything to make the division better. You don't put anybody over. You don't look good in the ring. Never mind making others look good in the ring with you. You're not the Roman Reigns of the women's division. You're not. When Roman Reigns is in the ring, he makes everybody look like fucking gold. When you're in the ring with somebody, you make them look like fucking shit. This Rhea Ripley storyline was the worst fucking storyline of the last fucking 7 years to come out of that women's division. The fuck are you watching? Why don't we like Charlotte Flair? WWE has omitted and erased all of Charlotte Flair's NXT title reigns. Now, Ric Flair is a Hall of Famer, 16 world titles under his WWE reign, under his WWE record. He unofficially has 23, but 16 is the official number. His daughter, Charlotte, was catching up to him, but WWE took some of those reigns away without telling anybody, or if you listened closely enough on Monday Night Raw, she did, in fact, tell people. It was noted in The Observer by Meltzer that WWE nixed Charlotte's NXT title reigns from her overall record in the company. That cut the number of title reigns from 13 to 8. Since WWE wants Charlotte to keep chasing her father's record, then that will likely call for many more championship reigns for Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair beat Rhea Ripley to win the Raw Women's Championship and then lost it the next night to Nikki Trash, who cashed in the Money in the Bank briefcase. It accomplished two purposes: getting the title on A.S.H. with the cash-in on Raw, and Flair added another title reign for the chase to 17. However, the NXT belts no longer are being counted. Her apparent 13th singles title win is now only her 8th. Nikki A.S.H. is the Raw Women's Champion, or I should say, the 24/7 champion, now after cashing the Money in the Bank briefcase, after winning it. So we'll have to see how long Nikki Trash keeps the title, and how soon Charlotte Flair beats Nikki Trash for the Monday Night Raw Women's Championship. It may actually be Becky Lynch, for all we know. We have no idea. So let me get this straight. Charlotte wants to know why people have a problem with her winning championships. Now you know why. And you just go along and fucking say yes, 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 yes to all of this illogical bullshit, and no one is going to question anything at all. Nobody has a problem. You see these UK fucking idiots in the community. I don't get why Charlotte Flair is so hated by everybody in the community. Point A, right here. I don't need to tell you everything else that I've already told you. This is the newest thing in line about why people hate Charlotte Flair. How could you omit NXT title reigns. So what you're telling me is that I didn't see Charlotte Flair win the Royal Rumble last year. What you're telling me is I didn't see Charlotte Flair beat Rhea Ripley for the NXT Women's Championship at WrestleMania last year, right? What you mean to tell me is I didn't see Charlotte Flair go down to NXT and wrestle Io Shirai and Rhea Ripley and bury an entire division while she was down there for 3 months. Is that what you're telling me? How could you look at yourself in the fucking face and just blatantly go and follow this narrative and an agenda of Charlotte Flair not having NXT title reigns to her record? Now, I get WWE's reason for doing it. It's fucking sad, but I get why they do it. But what I don't get is how you don't look at the negatives that come along with that and only look at the agenda to push Charlotte. Rhea Ripley did not recover from her losing to Charlotte at WrestleMania. Not one moment did that woman look herself in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm finally past this dark shadow that was looming over me. That loss to WrestleMania fucking buried her to a point where you see her now. That woman hasn't been the same. She went through NXT like a fucking loser all that entire year, putting others over. Then she makes the main roster, gets thrusted right into a Raw Women's Championship match. People were praising that because they're a bunch of fucking no IQ wielding idiots. Oh, there's nobody else. Bingo, motherfucker. Bingo. You pointed out the fucking problem as to why it doesn't make any sense. Because there's nobody else. Yet you're okay with WWE trashing a division and a championship to get you a match that wasn't even fucking good. All because there's nobody else. It's great. There's nobody else. I wish I could be that fucking lazy in my day-to-day life. There's nothing else to do. You fucking serious? And then look at her. Moving on with Charlotte Flair in this feud for 4 fucking months. The worst storyline and creative between 2 women that I possibly could have ever watched on Monday night happened for the last 4 months. She won a Royal Rumble? Doesn't matter. Charlotte won the Royal Rumble. Did she win a title? Yeah, but you're not going to know about it because WWE's not going to put it in their record books. Where did she win this title? At WrestleMania. Their biggest show of the year. You mean to tell me that I didn't see all these things? This is the biggest time of WWE's year. A Royal Rumble win, a WrestleMania win, and you're not going to count it towards title reigns? While you're not going to look at the damage it's done to Rhea Ripley? This company fucking sucks. Charlotte Flair is a blithering fucking idiot. If she doesn't see why people don't like her and will never like her, then that's on her. Honey, I think you got some fucking soul searching to do. Ryan Satin isn't going to do you any favors. He's only going to tell you, oh, don't worry. Can I get you back on my podcast in 6 months? He says what he has to say because he's contracted to Fox. He's a fucking idiot. He doesn't know the business. He's a fucking moron. And he's never going to tell people exactly what they're watching. And he's never going to express to you what you need to know. The fact that you're not wanted. You're not number 1 anymore. Becky Lynch is number 1. You better get it through your skull. Those We Want Becky chants, they're going to be haunting you until that woman wins that championship back and you are so far removed from their memory that they don't care anymore. Sorry, honey. Your day as the number 1 horsewoman has passed. You are now last on the list. Moving on. Wrapping up this fucking show today, man. Rhea Ripley, got news on Rhea Ripley. Plans for Rhea Ripley, according to PW Insider, after she lost the championship to Charlotte Flair. WWE and Vince McMahon want Rhea Ripley to keep up on her good girl persona. It was reported the Nightmare has quietly turned babyface. Who cares? Do I care? Do you care? The woman is buried. There's nothing appealing about that woman anymore. And you can thank Charlotte Flair and the creative for that. Going forward, Rhea Ripley is now considered a babyface. This has quietly happened over the last few weeks, but we are told here at PW Insider that it was made to everybody internally and that she's 100% babyface. Ripley was initially brought in as a heel. Great. Vince McMahon also wants her to smile more to go along with her good girl persona. It's great. It's great. The Nightmare, the one who listens to death and thrash metal, all this hardcore fucking music. Vince McMahon wants her to smile more. Yeah, what a character development there. Burial. Good luck on getting anybody to fucking care. I hear that theme music, I fucking cringe so badly that I want to fucking crumble right on my couch. It's awful. It is fucking awful. Bill Goldberg. We're going to end with this. There's not much I could say about Goldberg. You guys know it. Fuck Bill Goldberg. But Bully Ray. Bully Ray is somewhat, for now, in our corner. Goldberg. He was talked about on Busted Open. And Bully Ray says this in regards to Goldberg not earning his title shot against Bobby Lashley. What? Bully Ray making sense live on the air? How come nobody pumps Goldberg's brakes? How come Bobby Lashley didn't say, no, you're not next? The next week he turns around and says, you know what? You show up, you lose, and then you go home. So now if you want to show up and get a shot at the championship, you got to beat 3 people. And you know what to do with Goldberg? You do with Goldberg what you did with Goldberg day 1 at WCW. Have Goldberg beat 3 guys in 3 30-second matches. Spear jackhammer, spear jackhammer, spear jackhammer. Now, how did he exactly get that world championship? By working. By working. He had to work to earn his shot. That's what Bully Ray says about Bill Goldberg. I don't think WWE would ever do that. I don't think Goldberg would ever do that. He'd probably throw out a fucking ligament, or he may tear a hamstring or something. Knowing this fucking guy, he may get blown up in just that one sequence of things in the ring. And plus, he won't do it. Oh, I'm only contracted to 2 matches. You're paying me $2 million per. I can't do any more. It's going to be another $1 million per match. That's all he gives a fuck about. He gives a fuck about the money. You don't give a fuck about making sense on storylines or why he's getting a championship match. You don't give a shit. But Bully Ray is correct. I don't expect WWE to ever do that, and it doesn't make sense why he's back. It doesn't. Now, Andrew Zarian of the Madman Podcast, he talked about fan criticism of Goldberg's return for SummerSlam. Zarian tweeted out some interesting notes after allegedly having a conversation with someone in WWE. This is probably the same fucking guy that said, well, I don't know why people are upset about Cross losing. Probably the same fucking idiot. He says this, and I quote, it doesn't matter how upset Twitter is. They are the minority. Some more notes from my conversation this morning with someone at WWE. Here is the reality. WWE needs casual fans. Every single analytic indicator that the company uses to show that Goldberg is a draw for them. We may not like him returning, but the majority of WWE fans do. The reality is we are the minority when it comes to pro wrestling viewership. Twitter is a fraction of how many people actually follow WWE content. Don't shoot the messenger. End quote. WWE is losing fans at a rapid number, at a rapid pace. Bringing Goldberg back only speeds that process up. The fans you need to gravitate to and the fans you need to go out there and get are all the fans AEW is fucking stealing. Those are the fucking people that you need to start gravitating towards. You're only booking this shit because of the fucking consistent geeks who watch your show, pleasing these fucking idiots. You're not creating new eyes. You're not getting people reinvested in the product. If you wanted to do that, then Big E would have made sense. I've always been the guy to sit here and say WWE needs consistent writing. If they write consistently week after week after week after week after week, and the shows make sense and the shows get better week after week after week, that is what's going to bring people back to watching the show. Not bringing back Goldberg. Do they realize how illogical this is? Goldberg lost. Again, I don't believe I have to reiterate this. Goldberg lost in January to Drew McIntyre. He went away until we seen him on Monday night. Since then, McIntyre, he lost. He lost the WWE Championship to The Miz. Bobby Lashley beat The Miz for the WWE Championship. But the single one thing that you need to concentrate on there is Drew McIntyre beat Goldberg in 4 minutes. Bobby Lashley wrestled Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania and beat him clean. So Bobby Lashley beat the guy at WrestleMania who beat Bill Goldberg at the Royal Rumble. So why does Bobby Lashley need to beat Bill Goldberg when he already beat the guy that beat Bill Goldberg? Doesn't Bobby Lashley own something much greater than wrestling and beating Bill Goldberg himself? The fuck do we need to beat Bill Goldberg for? What do you need to book Bill Goldberg and Bobby Lashley for at SummerSlam? Money match, I hear. It's a big marquee match. It's a money match. There's no matches planned at SummerSlam outside of the one that we're all looking forward to, Roman Reigns versus John Cena. There's no matches planned for SummerSlam, and it's sold out. So for you to tell me that you need Bill Goldberg and Bobby Lashley at SummerSlam, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Now, if you did Big E and Bobby Lashley and continued the storyline of Big E and the New Day getting their revenge on Bobby Lashley, that's the story. That would have been something interesting to make people tune in to watch. Everybody wants Big E. Everybody wants him to challenge for a world title and win the world title. Much rather see that than Bill Goldberg. The majority of the people don't even tell me otherwise. So whoever says WWE needs casual fans, how many of these casual fans want to see Bill Goldberg back do the same thing, get the same match that he's not deserving of, do the same 3 fucking moves, and lose? We've been through this time and time and time again, and we're about to see it another 3 fucking times in the next year and a half. Spare me. It doesn't interest anybody. If Goldberg was a big draw, then Raw would have been over at 2. Right? They're not even close. Goldberg and Lashley is not needed at SummerSlam. Don't even make a fucking argument to me because I killed every one of your points without even you opening your fucking mouth. Guys, I'm getting out of here. I appreciate you very much for sticking with me on the podcast. Lot to go over today. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you hit that thumbs up down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at JD from NY206. Make sure you guys go check out all the other content that you see on the channel on the homepage right now. Lots of stuff. Big week for Off the Script. I want to thank you guys for sticking with me here on the podcast. We are upwards and onwards towards 125,000 subscribers. We just hit 32,000 followers on Twitter. Thank you guys very much. Go and check out Bonfire. Get your t-shirts. Links are down below for everything you need. Bonfire.com, sheathunderwear.com/script. Go and get yourself a bad boy pair of these. And make sure you guys go and check out the SmackDown podcast from last night as well. And as always, hit that thumbs up. I appreciate you guys very much. And I will see you back here for a brand new week of content on Monday Night Raw. We got some more great shows coming up. Hopefully we have just as big of an audience as we did this week going on into SummerSlam. Guys, I'll see you later. And I will see you right back here for Monday Night Raw live on YouTube, right here on Off the Script. I'll see you guys later.